Yo, what's up, crew? Welcome back to the Building a Lead Gen Ecosystem Masterclass. In this masterclass, we're going to be talking about all your favorite lead gen tactics, everything from cold to warm audience to organic content to paid ads. Okay, so we're going to cover it all, don't worry. But they're going to be coming in segments, and we're going to take a top-down view to begin today, 30,000 foot view. And to preface this, I'm always hesitant on making any content around lead generation because lead gen is literally just one aspect of the entire system of running a business, right? And yes, it's very important, and it's where most people start because you have to get clients to get reps in. So just know I approach this with hesitancy because people tend to only fixate on the lead gen aspect of running the business, and they don't focus on building the appropriate systems, building the best culture, building the best team to fulfill for the clients at a high level. But I do know that people have to start somewhere, and lead gen is normally where people have to start. And so if you're going to run lead gen, I want you to have the best resources, the best tools in order to attract the best clients possible for your business. So without further ado, welcome into the lead gen masterclass. This will be a much longer masterclass than the systemization masterclass because there are so many nuances to lead generation. There's so many different avenues that you can take when it comes to building out a lead gen system. And if you guys have read $100 Million Offers by Alex Hormozi, awesome. That's a really good starting point to building out a great lead gen system. But I want to cover some of the nuances that are a little bit more specific for service-based businesses like agencies that are going to be really important for you to build out the best lead gen system possible. So let's go ahead, jump into the Miro board, and I'll show you guys kind of a top-down view of how we should be thinking about lead gen. All right, crew. So in today's episode, we're going to be speaking specifically on lead generation from a 30,000 foot view. So if you're here and you're wanting the more tactical stuff, I'm sorry, this is the way my brain thinks. I have to show you the big picture before we get into the more nitty gritty nuances of lead generation. And so for this to really make sense, I want you guys to understand that lead generation and sales in general really revolves around a basic understanding of physics. And if you remember back in the days, I don't know, maybe you took physics in high school, or maybe you were at university at some point in time and you took a physics class, you probably talked about levers at some point in time. And you understand that with levers, the longer that your lever arm is, the easier it is to pull a weight down, right? And the same is true when it comes to our prospects, right? And so if you imagine our prospects, and we have prospect number one over here, right? If we don't have a lot of leverage, then we're not going to pull that prospect into a sale or even into a booked call. And that's the whole point of lead generation, is that we need to be able to create leverage in order to pull a prospect into a sale or into a booked call. Now, how do we place ourselves in a position to create the highest amount of leverage? Well, it's trust. Okay. Trust is how we create leverage in a sales conversation. Trust is how we create leverage in lead generation as well. Okay. So they both apply whether you're talking about sales or lead gen. Hey, real quick, I got to tell you about Hydra Council. It's an event that we throw every year. We're doing one in Nashville in April, and then we're also doing one in October in London. So if you guys are wanting to get involved in an agency community, go to a physical event where you can learn from some of the best market leaders in the space, then you have to come to a Hydra Council. We only have 65 tickets available. We keep it small, niche, so we can workshop directly with you guys and work on your business intimately. If you guys want to come to the event, click the link inside of the description, and we'll see you in Nashville or London. And if you're running a new business, then chances are your trust is probably low in the ecosystem, which means that you must work extremely hard to create leverage and create trust that you can deliver on what you say you can deliver. Now, if you're more seasoned, you've been running your agency for some time or running your service business for some time, then chances are you have some trust built up in the marketplace, and you don't have to work as hard. You still have to work hard, don't get me wrong, but you don't have to work as hard to create leverage because maybe you're well known in the space, you've created the relationships, people know you for a specific craft, right? Whether that's lead gen or whether that is running ads for e-commerce brands, maybe you've built some sort of trust in the marketplace and you already have some leverage handy. But if you're starting brand new, chances are you have zero leverage coming into any sales conversations, even reaching out to people for the first time if you're doing outbound. So I want you guys to keep that in mind, that really lead generation is going to revolve around trust and creating what we call leverage in sales conversations in order to pull a prospect into a conversion. So let's talk about the lead gen climate as it currently sits, okay? And if you guys have read Alex Hormozi's $100 million leads, that you know that things get differentiated into two main buckets. One being warm audiences, so people who know about you and have given you permission to contact them, or maybe their friends, family, something along those lines, people that engage with you. If you have a little bit of an audience, chances are that would be a warm audience that you're currently pitching to, right? And then we have cold audiences. Okay? These are people who have no clue who you are. You haven't gotten permission to contact them quite yet, but they're prospects, they're ideal, and they're out there. They just don't know that you exist yet. Now, these two buckets become very important for us to understand because we have to know who we're talking to, right? When we're talking to a warm audience, when we're talking to a warm lead, and this is what we consider like a referral, we have a lot of leverage with that person. There's some trust built there. Anytime that you've gotten a referral from another client or maybe a referral partner, there's been trust already established because the person that sent them to you trusts you. And chances are they have trust with each other. And so when you're getting that referral, there's already some trust built. But with cold audiences, this is completely different. And this is, true for cold outbound. And I'm sure you guys have all gotten messages before in your Instagram DMs, Twitter DMs of people that are trying to immediately pitch you on a service and say, this is why you need it and you should sign up. And usually the response is no thanks or completely F off, right? And so just know, depending on who we're talking to, the strategies change drastically. We have to have an understanding that there are warm audiences and cold audiences, which might be mind-blowing to some people and it might be very basic to others, but we do have to have that understanding. I think Hormozi really does an incredible job of laying out what he calls his Hormozi core 4, right? Which is warm outreach, cold outreach, post free content, and run paid ads. And if you look at lead generation from a holistic standpoint, a 30,000 foot view, this is what you can do for lead generation. This is pretty much it. There's really no other options outside of warm outreach, cold outreach, post free content, and running paid ads. That's really it. And inside of the square, he talks about how on the warm outreach side, you have the one-on-one and private, and they're people that you know. On the cold outreach side, it's one-to-one private, sending direct DMs, people that you don't know. Okay, it's talking about the more like the cold audience, right? And then on the bottom half of the graph, he talks about posting free content, okay? People that you do know, people that follow you, right? And it's one to many. So when you make a post on Instagram or Twitter, it goes out to your full following, right? Whether that's 300, 10,000, million people. And then running paid ads, okay? This is one to many, to the public, people who don't know you, okay? But we can send it out to the masses. So there has to be, once again, an understanding of warm and cold audiences, but also when we're doing these 4 different styles of lead generation activities, what it is really meant for and who it's going to. Okay. And once we have a good idea of that, then we can go ahead and start to craft our lead gen systems around, hey, are we talking one-on-one with someone? Are we talking one to many? Do these people know us or do these people not know us? And that will really dictate how we craft our messaging, how we craft our ads, how we craft our outbounds, right? All around this core 4. So with Hormozi's core 4, we do have to have an understanding that there are so many different ways to do warm outreach, cold outreach, post free content, run paid ads. And there are some differentiators here that I want you guys to be in the know on. And I have a couple extras kind of sprinkled in here because you can see how these become really important to building a ecosystem around lead generation. But I want to be able to lay out hey, what's going to be the highest investment for us as far as cash wise? Hey, what's going to be the most expensive to get into? What's going to be a low investment? So if you're just getting started and you're not wanting to spend a lot of money, what's going to be the low investment lead gen opportunities? And then what's going to be the fastest and what's going to be the slowest and more long-term plays that we're going to lean into. Now, I have a couple in here, and there's so many, guys. I could fill this entire graph with so many different opportunities that we can jump into lead gen. But here's the thing. I haven't run every single lead gen source out there. And so I'm really only going to talk about the ones that I've personally done and making sure that I'm speaking from experience, not just from my ass pretty much. So I want to make sure that I'm talking about things that I've actually done before. So high investment, but faster results, paid ads, right? You're going to spend some money in order to get faster results. Same thing with cold outbound. Outbound is going to have that fast turnaround. You can land deals pretty quick from outbound, and it's going to be a little bit lower on the investment. That's why a lot of beginner business owners will run with cold outbound instead of running paid ads, because paid ads does take a little bit more of an investment. Yeah, right in the middle there is going to be like that referral partnership. Referrals can, depending on how good you are, right? Referrals can kind of sprinkle in slowly, or sometimes they're fast, right? Like if you're really crushing for clients, chances are they're going to refer people to you. So I put that right in the middle because it's not a huge investment, but sometimes there's an investment to pay those referral partners back. Sometimes like what we do is like we'll set up a partnership that has 10% kickback to our referral partner. That way they're getting some sort of buy-in for referring people to us. Yeah. We've done a ton of events as well, like either hosting events or going to events, very high on the investment side, and can sometimes be a little bit slower because personally we don't pitch at our events or even pitch at the event that we're attending. Chances are there's going to be a little bit longer sales cycle involved with that. Organic content, super slow. Super slow, time intensive, super slow. Chances are you're not going to get a ton of traction from organic content and have a direct link to sales immediately. And then newsletter, low investment, just takes some time, slow, but has been one of the best things that we could have launched for our business is having a newsletter that goes out on a weekly or bi-weekly cadence. So that kind of gives you an idea of like some of the pieces, but also you could fit SEO inside of here. There's so many different types of outbound that we can talk about. So there's a lot of different things, and I'm sure if you thought about it, whatever lead gen tactic that you're using that is not on here, I'm sure you could find a place for it on this graph. So just wanted to lay that out of like, hey, different lead gen systems do take different investments and do work at a little bit faster or slower rate. So keep that in mind. And so the whole goal of us running a great lead gen system is creating the warmest audience possible. And so our whole goal here, right, is to create leverage. And if you remember from the beginning, the only way that we can create leverage is going to be through trust. So if we want that longer lever arm, we have to create trust. That's the only way that this is going to work, is that people are going to trust us that we can deliver on what we do. Now, the right offer, okay, the right market leader positioning all play into this, of course, but we'll chat about that in a later part of the masterclass. Now, traditional funnel structure, okay? How do we create this trust? Well, we have to understand this traditional funnel structure. First, if you guys have ever seen a funnel before, okay, it looks something like this. We have a large top of funnel, okay? And then we have nurturing in the middle, and then we have a very narrow bottom of funnel because everyone that hears about us or that we bring into our ecosystem of lead gen, they're not all going to convert, which means that the bottom of the funnel gets smaller, right? And the goal here is booked calls, okay? Because we're talking about lead generation, talking about book calls. We're not necessarily talking about a sales conversion. We're talking about just getting a prospect that's qualified on a booked call with us. Now, you'll notice these terminologies up here, MQL, SQL. What the heck does that mean exactly? Well, MQL is what stands for marketing qualified lead, okay? It's important to know this terminology. And so quick definition on marketing qualified lead is just a lead who has indicated interest in what a brand has to offer based on marketing efforts or is otherwise more likely to become a customer than other leads. Okay? SQL, on the other hand, is sales qualified lead. This is a prospective client that has been researched, vetted, first by your organization's marketing department and then by its sales team, and is deemed ready for the next stage of the sales process. Usually they're problem aware and they're curious if you can solve it. So this is someone that is shown interest, there's trust built. And our goal is to move people from MQLs, which is low trust, and people that don't know us well, and maybe they've downloaded a resource or maybe they've seen some of our content, but there's not a lot of trust built there yet, and move them through our funnel into an SQL, okay? And an SQL is high trust. They know about us. They know that there's a solution to a problem that they're trying to solve. And so that trust is there, and that's where the leverage is created, is through that process of moving someone from an MQL to an SQL. So how do we keep this top of mind while utilizing Hormozi's Core 4 here? Well, really it's going to go in this order, okay? Referrals, cold outreach, post free content, run paid ads. This is what I would consider the most ideal way to start building MQLs and pushing them down into SQLs, okay? And I'll show you what this looks like here in just a second. So talking about referrals first. Referrals are what I consider the nice to haves, okay? We cannot rely only on referrals because we don't know necessarily when we're going to get them, okay? Now, if you have a really good referral system with your clients, chances are you can count on this a little bit more. But for the most part, we can't rely on referrals only because they ebb and flow, right? And when the referral well runs dry, a lot of times it's very difficult to see continued growth, okay? Now, moving into cold outreach, this is what we consider like the direct messaging or direct calling. This is simply just a compelling case on why someone would want to speak with us or work with us, okay? On the cold outreach side, this is moving people essentially past the trust process and moving them straight into the SQL. And I'll talk about that in just a second. But it's going to get us our second fastest wins outside of just referrals. And then from there, posting free content. This is more of a long-term play, but this is going to help establish some of that market leader positioning that if you've ever watched any of my other videos before, you know I'm a huge fan of market leader positioning. But when someone wants to do the research and they see if you're full of smoke or you do what you can actually say you can do, this is where all that free content comes in. This is where the right positioning on your website comes in. These are the important pieces that make you stand out from all of the other people in the space that are doing what I would consider like a half-assed job. And then lastly, running paid ads. This is what I consider a controllable lever. Okay? When you need to multiply the number of eyeballs on your offer, so we can pump money in and get leads out. That's how paid ads works. But there has to be an investment. And normally this is why I recommend it as our last opportunity, because it is the highest investment that we will make in order to pump leads into our ecosystem and be able to cross them into a conversion. All right, so let's see how Hormozi's Core 4 then plugs into our funnel system. On the referral side, you'll know that there's a direct tie into sales qualified leads. So when we get referrals, these are what we consider immediately sales qualified lead. There's really no nurturing that needs to take place here. It's a direct referral, and chances are they're ready to buy because they've heard something great from someone else. Cold outreach is also a direct play into SQLs, because here's the thing is when you're doing cold outbound, we're talking about a message that is creating a compelling offer for someone where there might not be a ton of trust built there, but the offer is good enough to be able to kind of turn their head a little bit and say, okay, well, that might be worth getting on a call with this person and just hearing them out. Now, it does create just SQLs. There's no nurturing. There's no market qualified lead in there at all. This is directly into an SQL, and basically we're almost like cold pitching in the DMs to jump on a call with us, okay? But it does produce SQLs. It's just high volume in order to get a low amount of booked calls. And then posting free content, this is what we consider our top of funnel activity. Now, I will say every once in a while, posting free content, if you have the right calls to action, all of that creates SQLs, but posting free content for at least me, and as Hormozi lays it out in $100 million leads, this is more of the nurturing stage, right? So we're going to post free content to bring people in to our top of funnel, but also be able to nurture people that have existed in our ecosystem, and we give them free information, free value over time in order to bring them into a qualified call at some point in time. And then lastly, running paid ads. Okay, and running paid ads does two things for us. One, it fills our top of funnel, okay, because we're going to get opt-ins, we're going to get emails, phone numbers, things like that. That is going to fill our top of funnel. And then we're also going to get sales qualified leads to this as well, because similar to cold outreach, we're going to craft a compelling ad in order to bring people into a sales qualified lead, because once again, we'll create an ad that kind of turns their head. Maybe we have a VSL after that that will kind of sell them on why they should have this specific offer, and it will bring us into a sales qualified lead and will book calls for us, okay? But once again, there's not a lot of trust built there, and that's why we rely on something that posting free content in order to build that middle of that funnel. How do we put ourselves in a place with the highest amount of leverage? We have to create trust in the marketplace. And if you've been following market leaders, this is one of my favorite market leaders right here. Chase Diamond owns an email marketing agency in the e-commerce niche. This guy posts content all the time on LinkedIn. As you can see here, 316 likes, 73 comments, 66 reposts, probably has a lot of impressions. I think I saw he posted the other day that he got over 1 million impressions last month just on LinkedIn alone, okay? But creating this market leader positioning, creating this market leader mentality creates trust in the marketplace. And so when people see your ads, when people get your outbounds, okay, there's trust already built in the marketplace. And this is where I want businesses to start focusing on, is how can we become a market leader in the space? First, just generating a lead so we can land a deal. It has to shift, because right now the entire ecosystem of lead generation is saturated with direct offers and the ability to just cross people across the line. And this lever for everybody in the space is becoming shorter and shorter. Everyone is getting a shorter lease, and it's harder to land sales now more than ever because there's ton of $100 million offers out there. There's a ton of guarantees in the marketplace right now, and it's creating a lot of mistrust because a lot of people can't deliver on what they say they can deliver on. And so how do we get past that? Well, we build trust, we become a market leader in the space. And if you guys want to become a market leader in the space, you have to subscribe to this channel, because that's what we talk about. Talk about becoming a market leader and not just being some other person in the space that's running an agency or running a service business that burns everybody else. And so I'll kind of leave you guys with this quote today that Hormozi dropped in $100 Million Leads: is a person who pays with their time now is more likely to pay with their money later. And if you've been following Hormozi for any amount of time, you know that he's been playing this value game for the past few years. And if Hormozi dropped a course today, I would be one of the first people in line to go and buy it. Why? Because he's given a lot of value, and I trust him enough to provide value if I had to pay him for something. And that's the position that you need to be in. Imagine having clients lined up at your door, ready to go as soon as you make an offer, because you built enough trust in the marketplace and you are looked at as a market leader. So remember this: when you become a market leader, you win trust, and when you win trust, you win deals. That's how it works. If you guys are enjoying this content, don't forget, leave a like, subscribe to the channel. This is the first episode of a very long masterclass. We're going to be bringing in guest speakers for this as well, because I'm not the expert in all things lead gen. I have some good knowledge in certain areas of lead generation, but we're going to bring in some people that really know their stuff well, some of the best lead gen marketers in our entire space. So if you're interested in that, make sure you follow along for the journey. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.